Many questions on your mind, searched all around but you couldn't find. Here's a program that's made for you, so your faith can be renewed. Oh, we know easy, yes we know, but you go make 'em for sure. We'll become the saints in jeans and shirt. Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
The home is a place of love and care, a place where you go to escape from the troubles of the world, to find peace, to find rest from all your troubles. But when there is tension in a home, which eventually leads to violence against other members of the family, what exactly becomes of such a society which is made up of such families? Today on Catholic Faith Forum, we'll be discussing the issue of domestic violence. And of course, I didn't come alone. I always come with beautiful people who flank me on every side, giving me hope that I have things to hope for. May.
Hi. Happy to be. I'm the beautiful baby.
No, you are not, please.
As you said, I'm a beautiful person, and we're going to be talking about domestic violence.
And we're going to be discussing this topic with a wonderful guest. She is a graduate of sociology and a lawyer, a member of the Justice Development and Peace Committee, and she currently coordinates the activities of the JDPC in St. Dominic's Parish, Yaba, and the Yaba Deanery. Very, very big woman. In the person of Mrs Tonia Onabanjo. You're welcome, ma.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you here, ma.
Happy to have you here, ma.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here too. Hello, audience.
All right, so keep watching. We'll be right back to talk more about this topic. It's very wide, it's very educating. Don't go anywhere.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back to Catholic Faith Forum, your #1 Catholic program on television. And today we're discussing the issue of domestic violence, another topic that is controversial, and it's always pipes down a lot, even though it affects a lot of people.
And it really needs to be talked about.
Exactly.
Because it's everywhere. It's happening so much in our society today. So we need to know the details about domestic violence.
And we have Mrs. Tonia Onabanjo with us to discuss. You're welcome very much, ma.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we'll start off with what domestic violence is. We would like you to explain what that is to us.
Yes, as you rightly pointed out, it's one of the most violated rights in the country and in the world at large. And a look at the page metro of the Punch, every day you see all forms of violence. Yes. Wife against husband, husband against wife, daddy against child, child sometimes against parents, uncles against children, children against uncles. So the list is
endless.
Never ending. Yes. So domestic violence is actually a pattern of, a pattern of behavior that, inflicts violence on the other party in the family, in the home setting. Domestic setting is usually home, marriage relationship or cohabitation, or school, anywhere that has a cover of home setting where you have caregivers. Of course, in a marriage setting, you have husband, you have wives, the spouses, you have the children. Sometimes in African setting, you have extended family. That's what you call extended family, not just the nuclear family. So you have relations like grandmother, uncles, aunts, and then sometimes domestic, house helps present in the domestic setting.
Okay, you've given us a lot of things that could be classified, but as a layman, I'm a married layman, and then I have a little altercation with my wife, and then I say something very loud to her that makes her feel down. Or just there and then I express my anger and then I hit her. Can all those, and it doesn't continue, does it count also as domestic violence if it does not continue, if it's a one-time thing?
Yes and no. If it's a one-time thing, it's still an abuse. It's an abuse. And if if care is not taken and the person does not complain, there's a likelihood that it will be repeated. That's why it's very important to nip it on the bud.
Once you see any sign of any aggression,
just report.
Address it immediately.
Yes, address it immediately. Either one-on-one relationship, or if it's not responsive, you can invite a third party. Or if it's continuous, you can, go to the police. The Act, actually, when we go further, we gives a lot of rights and latitude to even onlookers, those who are neighbors. Like you are a neighbor and you hear a lot of noise going on, you are encouraged by the Act, the Child's Rights Act.
To actually raise an alarm.
Yes, raise an alarm to help the victim.
Because I know a lot of people will say, it's not my business, so it's their family issue, so let's not involve ourselves, and then they'll just stay on the sideline. So we are actually supposed to speak up.
We are brothers keepers, yes, you should do that. And in fact, the Act and the government policies, all of them, all the legislations now in place to protect and check abuses in the domestic environment or setting. They encourage, public help. The persons who are around, especially who may not, because sometimes the victims, it may be too late for the victims to actually help themselves, or they are going through what they call Stockholm syndrome. They're not even aware that they're being abused. Yes, so it is important for the neighbors or anybody who is in local parental, or the police or the social workers. There are welfare offices set up in every local government in Lagos State. Yes, to report it, and they are equipped to handle it. They could go to court on behalf of the abused persons. Yes, and then the court too will not. They encourage public, complaints, yes, and intervention, so that they don't ask for local standing and no human rights. In fact, domestic violence is a form of violation of a fundamental human right. Yes. So in the Constitution, it's also provided that everyone has a right to life, right to personal liberty, right to dignity of the human person, and other such rights. There are about 12 of them in Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Under the Act, you could approach the law courts, the magistrate courts, the high courts. You could go through the welfare offices that are in every local government. You could report to the police. The police stations are all empowered. There are offices established, welfare offices in the police stations, to make such reports. And it's an offense on their part if they do not report such cases.
Okay, it's good to know that these things have been put in place.
Yes.
Wonderful, because a lot of people feel like, who will I tell that will solve my problem for me? Some people don't even know it's a problem, like you said, mentioning Stockholm syndrome. And so that brings the question, what exactly causes Stockholm syndrome? Why do the abused keep staying with their abuser? What exactly is the abuser doing that keeps the abused?
Thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. And then there are arrays of reasons. One is economic. It could be economic reason. The abused is not empowered and is weighing, how am I going to survive when I leave this? Yes, so it could be, infatuation or love in the case of spousal relationships. Yes, some spouses believe that, when he hits me, making up is sweet. Can you imagine? So it can happen that, it's infatuation and lack of knowledge, because the scripture even said that my people perish for lack of knowledge. So if you know, it helps a lot. That's why it's good, and I'm appreciative of this, your program. It's enlightening the public and the youth particularly, and then the children, because it's good to know, and prevention is always better than cure.
I know a young girl, when we were in school back then, her boyfriend at that time, they were not even married. Her boyfriend at that time, he would beat her up seriously. She would be seriously bruised. and the next thing you buy her one very expensive gift, and then she'll say, they've made up. They'll be fine for a while again. After a while, he will beat her up again and buy her another expensive gift. And I'm like, eventually one day he will kill you and you won't even be alive to enjoy this gift that he's buying you. So I don't know whether those victims see it as an incentive to stay as they're beating them, or I don't know. I don't understand.
I think it's more psychological.
It's psychological.
Yeah, because when these things keep happening, it's just that they're attached to those gifts. I believe.
Yes.
It's like it's kind of high.
So those things are kind of high for them. Wonderful. Okay, ma. So are there signs to look out in people? Can we see signs from people that we think might be prone to abusing people?
Oh yes, yes, you can. For instance, you can notice, like in spousal relationship or cohabitation, you see, I mean, a human being is imbued with the right to, right to life, then along with right to development, and then participation and protection. And you are in a relationship, you're not allowed to participate in decision making, or even to participate in even fun. Anything whatsoever, you are just relegated, so to speak. And then these are signs. And then controlling, overbearing. Where are you? Where are you? I was calling you, you didn't pick up your phone. Where have you been? Where are you? Why didn't you answer the phone? I mean, you could be somewhere, maybe in the bathroom.
Yes.
Such people, no tolerance. Not giving you a space to even explain. Some will even descend. I have been calling you, didn't answer.
Well, don't you think this makes a case for teenage rebellion? Because you also mentioned that children can be domestically abused, and then there are a lot of parents who always are on their kids' necks, like, where are you? If you go out, come back by 6 o'clock. The kid begins to feel so choked up. My mom is disturbing me, my dad is disturbing me. So don't you think this makes a case for teenage rebellion, like when the kid wants to break out of their...
the adolescent stage. Yes, for psychologists, it's true. It's true, and even the scripture said that parents do not drive your children into resentment, even though you are obliged as children to respect your parents, right? So it's you are making a very valid point there. It's a lot of wisdom is brought to bear while you are parenting. You allow your child breathing space. Not even every time, where have you been? I want you to be, I want you to study this, I want you to study. A visit to Yaba Neuropsychological Home will teach you that so many youth who are there, they were there because their parents wouldn't even give them a chance. I was speaking with one, he said that my parents, I hate them more than anything in the whole world.
Oh my God.
Yes, why? He said, because they are both professors, they say it's beneath them for me to study just computer science. I should go and be an engineer. And they exported me to one of these countries in the East, and he couldn't even fit in. And he was, deported. When he got home, he just locks himself up in a room.
Oh my God.
He wouldn't speak to anybody until, first and foremost, they thought it was a spiritual problem. It was not spiritual. In the end, somebody advised them, why don't you go to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital? And there they were able to counsel him, and he came out. You see, they are the ones who frustrated him. They have rendered him to become where he went into drugs, abuse, and all of that. So parents, when they're overbearing, it could really spell doom sometimes. So it's good for parents to offer useful advice and guide your children, but not to become overbearing. You decide everything about them, and then you rob them of their dignity of the person.
These signs and more, we will be discussing them when we come back from the streets, where we go to take your opinions and your knowledge on this topic. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Domestic violence can be seen in two ways, either from the man or to the woman, and from the woman to the man. And that is being abusive, taking an act, a violence act against the other person, the other sexual partner.
Domestic violence has to do with couples fighting violently, which may lead to deaths or causing chaos in the family.
It's not always about physical. Most people think it's only when you beat, when you batter a woman, that's when you domestically violate the woman or the man. Yes, it could be with words. Emotionally, you can violate somebody domestically.
No matter how two good people are so much in love with each other, they should try to reduce their expectations. That's one of the most important things. Try to reduce your, always leave room for disappointments, because it's not everybody you must trust. Whoever you come, it can be your husband, it can be your wife, it can be your mate, it can even be your trusted friend, it can even be your child. You have to be very careful.
Well, people need to go for anger management, and it's also cultural. In Islam, I think a husband has the right to discipline the wife by beating her. And in African traditional religion too, I don't think it's anything out of place to hear that a husband beat up the wife for doing certain things. In fact, some culture takes the wife as if it's just part of your children. So you can discipline her and she will later bring your food, kneeling down and thanking you.
The government, they have the responsibility to bring up some laws that can really curb these vices in the community.
Very few people will come out to shout at, okay, yes, I'm being abused at home. They will rather preserve it and say it's a family matter. So no matter, we can say they should go to the police, agency should be developed, but really an agency will not go from house to house to check if the children are being abused, check if the wife or the husband is being abused. So it's just training, honestly, and prayer. As the child is growing up, you are taught to not hit someone, to not abuse people. That's basically what that can be done.
If there is that understanding between them, if the man wants to carry out any project or anything that has to affect the family, he needs to carry the wife along.
Catholic Faith Forum on TV.
Welcome back to the show, and I am actually shocked by some opinions from the streets.
Very, very interesting ones.
They are interesting and shocking because they talk about people being allowed to beat women. Wow, okay, let me not say anything. Let's go back to our guest and see if these things are actually allowed by the law. So, Ma, first things first, coming from that opinion, the person is of a particular faith and he says his faith allows for that to happen. So
yeah, you can beat your wife because she's considered to be one of your children, or you can take her as one of your children.
So what role do religious beliefs play
in domestic
violence? Do they amplify? Do they serve as a catalyst? Do they reduce the frequency? What role does religious belief play?
From my own opinion, and I am a Christian, the religion does not support any form of violence. No holy scripture, I know, supports any form of violence against, coming from either the spouses or the parents against their children. No. The underlying and important word is love. When love is in the home, I mean, you don't beat people, even if you had to correction, I mean, mild, not even use of abusive language, because abusive language is also tantamount to abuse, domestic abuse, in accordance with the Child Rights Act and the Lagos State Law of 2007. So all these have been criminalized under the Act and in the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But the religion, as I know it, let me speak for the one I am very familiar with. The Christianity does not encourage. In fact, it encourages you to be meek and humble, and then you love one another to the extent that it pains you. You keep taking and taking and taking, yes, and you'll be praying for the other person. So it precludes you from actually taking out any annoyance, not to talk of battery. I mean, making physical contact against your family members. So the religion, I don't think, it's just that the practitioners You know, being a patriarchal society, yes, men always think it's their birthright to be in control, to be in charge.
Carry on, manipulate, and do what they want to do.
They not only, no, with greatest respect, because I know very good gentlemen. I happen to be married to one, my father too, and then, you know, so many people I know are gentlemen. So, but we still have some very brutish people out there.
Not to forget that some women even also abuse their husbands. So we're not only attacking you. It's a general.
So women do, using abusive words, because to continue to humiliate somebody with your words and repeatedly telling somebody you are a non-entity.
You're a worthless
man. You're a worthless man. Look at what your mates have achieved. You are a loser. You are a loser. I mean, these are domestic forms of
I've even heard of women that beat up their husband.
Yeah, there are some women who are physically stronger.
And what is sad is those men cannot even talk because they are so embarrassed and ashamed to own up to the fact that
beating me.
Exactly.
Yes, true. But they are encouraged to report it.
They should.
Because you could actually manage any situation. You could bring the person to discussions on the conflict management programs, and the person will change. It's not as if some abuses go on because nobody has complained about it. Yes, you continue to tolerate it. Yes, and then as such, the person has accepted it as an acceptable behavior, form of
part of life.
Practice. Yes, but if you just shout, and we are actually using this medium to encourage parents to please spend more time with their children.
Yes, be more observant.
It is true that economic realities are harsh, but then these are the most important gifts that God has given you.
Yes.
So why do you trade it for what is perishing, what is ephemeral? So please, stay with your children. And if you're with your child, nobody can take the child and abuse the child. And the child will have the time to discuss it with you. By the time you take off very early in the morning and come back very late, the child has gone to bed. The following morning, yes, the opportunity is there doing these acts and continuously until it's too late.
All right, Ma. So, are there any, is there a limit between discipline and violence in a home? For example, with the child, like, okay, maybe the mom just beats the child, or the mom beats the child, and some people or somebody somewhere is saying, don't beat the child, it's domestic violence. What is the limit, for example? And even in spousal relations, is there a limit? Is there something a man can do? Maybe if the woman angers him, or the woman can do if the man angers him. Is there a limit, basically, to instilling discipline in each other? Because we're supposed to learn from each other, I believe, in the home. Is there a limit between discipline and violence?
Of course. I mean, it's like sleep and death. If someone is talking to you mildly, sweetheart, that thing you said, or this kind of food, I didn't enjoy it. I mean, can you make it, more delicious next time? He has appreciated that you put in some amount of effort, and then that is the beginning of, appreciation. So if he says that, it doesn't deride the butter. Every time you cook burnt food, what kind of rubbish food is this? I hate it, or it turns it down. I mean, common sense, and tells you that. And the definition of actually justice. Justice is giving each man his due. It's not absence of conflict necessarily, but giving each man his due. Have you given the person his due in this circumstance? No. So anytime you notice that your due is not appreciated of giving, that's the limit. Yes. So even the children too. Child, oh, you didn't do well in this. What happened to you? Oh, mom, I'll work harder next time. Okay, you buy maybe something he likes, maybe burger or anything, and the child will improve. But when, what have you done? You start hitting the child. That's child abuse. It is in this country that we have not really been testing the law. If we test the law, he will call the police. He or she will call the police, and the parent is arrested. The same thing with the spouses. You call the police, and the party, the aggressor, has the law to answer to.
Okay, so I want to ask, there's a serious case of victim blaming, especially when it comes to domestic violence. You see a woman whose husband has been abusing her, saying it was my fault, I pushed him, I have been nagging, I have offended him, and then they always keep making excuses for the man because
even
they believe it's their fault.
The woman or the man does not say it, people say, you safe, your own is too much, you talk too much.
So there's a serious case of victim blaming. Why do you think this is?
Yeah, it's because of stereotypes, as I said, you know, people's attitudes, and mostly from those who don't know. So why should you be taking your standards from those who don't know around you? So it's good to be knowledgeable. You know, that's why we encourage empowerment and education, quality education, not just any form of education. That the people will know their rights. This is my right. I have a right to life. I have a right to participate. I have a right to protection. I have a right to peace and be treated with the dignity of the human person.
Yeah.
If you're aware of your rights, then whatever the other person says doesn't bother you.
All right, Ma, thank you very much for your time. Unfortunately, we're
out of time.
We're out of time. We would have loved to keep on talking about this.
There's
still
so
a
much
lot of questions to be
said.
asked. There's a lot of questions to be asked, but unfortunately, we're out of time. So, if you have any questions on this topic, but first of all, I would like personally to encourage people to talk more about this, really. Talk more about this. It shouldn't be hidden. If you hear anything, if you're a neighbor who has another neighbor who abuses his wife or his children, please let the world know. Let the authorities know. It needs to be talked more about so that we can eradicate this evil from our midst. Thank you so much, Ma, once again.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sure you won't thank me, Abi.
Why will I thank you? Okay, May, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you too.
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to speak my piece. And I really want to encourage parents, youth, especially the youth who can make that veritable change we are looking now. Because some other societies in the world, it's not as prevalent as here. And why? Because they are testing the law. They are taking personal responsibility. They can make a difference. If you hear noise, the person in the Western culture will call the police.
Immediately.
And within seconds, they are there. And they will come with the full force of the law. Go back, go back, go back. And then you say, oh, I'm sorry. And in most cases, they save the day. So while we do all this, we are doing it to the glory of God. And we are making society a better place.
Wonderful. Yes. So if you have any more questions, you can hit us up on our social media platforms at CFFONTV, all social media platforms. And to catch the past episodes of the show, visit us on YouTube at Dominican Media Presents. Until I come your way next time with another wonderful topic with my co-host May.
Yes, sir.
Keep being saints in jeans,
and shirts. See ya.